Friends, I don't know about you, but I have been so excited about all of the developments happening in the world of AI and the tools that are being created. I've been experimenting for several months now with image generation and Chat-GPT for coming up with ideas and scripting and so on and so forth. And I wanted to share a little experiment I did today and show you how you could do some really cool stuff really quickly. What I'm about to show you took me about 45 minutes to put together, and I think it's pretty cool. So I read an article this morning about a guy who basically cloned himself through AI tools, cloned his voice, used a website that'll take a photo and animate it along with an audio file. I didn't go quite that far, but what I want to share with you is a concept that I had, again, just for demo purposes. I wanted to see if I could create a short little podcast. I called it Verses. The idea is that you might contrast what the world says versus what Scripture says.
And I even used Dall-E, an AI art generator, to create the art. Though I did have to replace the text, which AI still doesn't do well yet.
And so I just picked a verse. I went over to ChatGPT, told it what I wanted to do to create a little script for this mini podcast. I told it that I would be the host, generate this script. I want you to look at this verse and talk about how living this verse versus what the world says, like what would that look like? Generate a few reflection questions and then invite people to come and subscribe. And so ChatGPT did its thing in an incredible way, wrote that script. And then I jumped over to ElevenLabs, which is a website that does voice cloning, and it's a voice lab. I submitted 3 clips of snippets of my teachings that I've done and just one Zoom call that I had so that it could pick up my voice. And then it generated a clone of my voice. And I copied and pasted in the script from ChatGPT. I had to make a few little adjustments. I had to take out some of the things that are just instructions in a script, like put intro music here, and this would be Jason Moore's part, and so on and so forth. You need to do a little bit of tweaking so that the AI knows where to stop, and sometimes you need to put little dots in to spread out statements and things like that. But after putting that script in, making some adjustments, I hit generate, and it generated the audio, and then I just quickly threw on a little audio clip at the beginning. And what you're about to hear is my experiment. So check it out.
Welcome to Verses, a podcast that explores the biblical principles for how we should live our lives as Scripture encourages versus how the world says we should live. I'm your host, Jason Moore. In this first episode, we're going to explore how we should live according to Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." This verse tells us that we should trust in God and not rely on our own understanding. We should submit to God in everything we do. Living according to this principle can be challenging in a world that tells us to rely on ourselves and to pursue our own desires. But when we trust in God and follow His lead, we can be sure that we're on the right path. So what does it look like to trust in the Lord with all our hearts? It means putting our faith and confidence in God, even when things are difficult or don't make sense. It means seeking His guidance and wisdom in all that we do. So how can we reflect on these ideas? Here are 3 questions to consider this week. How can I trust in God more fully and rely less on my own understanding? In what ways have I been relying on my own understanding instead of submitting to God? What steps can I take to submit to God in all my ways? Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Verses. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and share it with others. Join us next time as we explore another biblical principle for how we should live our lives. Remember to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding.
So no, it's not perfect, but that's pretty incredible if you ask me. It sounds pretty close to me, and it captures the way I talk decently. Imagine how you might engage your people in a deeper way throughout the week if you could give up a half an hour. I mean, this was me even learning the tools a little bit. How might you begin to engage people in meaningful ways by using these tools without a ton of energy or even production skill needed. So if you're not looking into AI, friends, now's the time to do it. We're just in its infancy, and it's already a part of your life, whether you know it or not. And I think there's some great opportunities to come. Start exploring. Take care.